Hello and welcome back to Charging Status, the EV Focus podcast brought to you from The Interface. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jim Starling. Howdy, Jim.
Howdy, Alex. I'm feeling festive. How about you?
Not too bad. I'm rocking the new merch I've got for The Interface as well.
I actually missed that. Where could I buy that merch?
You could buy it at shop.theinterface.uk, and also you check out the Charging Status mugs as well.
Wow. And of course, you could also go over to notaguru.co.uk, and if you go on the support page, or it might even be called something else now, like, I don't know, partners or something, you could buy some of my merch as well. So that was seamless. What a wonderful Christmas gift.
That would be such a Christmas gift idea for a loved one or someone you know.
Or someone you don't like, possibly.
Fantastic.
So what have you been up to, Alex?
I've been fairly busy, to be honest. I've still got the Ora 03 on the drive. I'm still enjoying that one. It had a few problems. I took a road trip down to James May's pub, which was really, really nice. I think I mentioned that last episode.
Yeah.
If anyone's in the area, in near Salisbury, wherever, somewhere near there, it's incredible. Definitely book a table beforehand. The food's really, really good. James wasn't there, which I didn't expect him to be. But the food is like a high-class restaurant. It was that good. So,
is it super expensive or
not massively? Well, yeah,
okay.
Kind of. It was. I think it was £20 for one portion of fish and chips.
All right, but
so yeah,
I mean, 20 quid for fish and chips in London, you'd be probably doing a backflip because it's such a good price. But obviously, somewhere nice, it's not going to be a fiver, is it? But it's not. It doesn't sound like it's silly expensive.
No, and also, that's not. Well, I should just stress that's not something I'm going to do every day. It was the anniversary for me and my partner, so. But I would, if anyone's in the area, I'd definitely recommend it. It's really good. On the trip down, I tried to use the Tesla V3 chargers at Bristol and Amesbury, and for some reason the Ora it only works with V4 chargers.
Right. Okay.
When you use the V3 chargers, it just gets stuck in the socket. It just refuses to charge. So I've reported that, and hopefully I'll get fixed at some point. That was a bit weird. I've also been driving the MG3 Hybrid Plus. There's a review.
How have you found that? I actually drove that the other day.
It was okay. It wasn't as good as I was expecting it to be, but yeah, it was okay. I've got a review coming out for that soon. So,
interestingly, it was better than I was expecting it to be because I drove the last one.
Oh, okay.
And the last one was a bit pants, and I thought this one was really good, and I actually enjoyed it more than the last Fiesta I drove.
Okay. Yeah, I'll detail it in the review, but just the driving characteristics of it just feels a little bit loose, and I don't know. But there's a review for that out soon. The other one I've been driving is the ID.Buzz. That's going back today, sadly, which I'm gonna have to pry it out. I have to pry it out of my hands, I think. That's got to be the best Volkswagen EV they've made so far, I think.
100%.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Because I rented a California last year, the VW California. It reminds me of that, the driving position, the armrests, and just very fun. And also it fits in all the multi-story car parks, which is really good.
It's a great piece of design as well, isn't it?
It really
that's
is.
The thing. The footprint of that car is smaller than my Model Y, unbelievably.
Yeah.
Yet it looks and feels so much bigger. But as a piece of design, it's genius, really, because they've absolutely maximised the space with it. Yet still a really nice thing to drive, incredibly comfortable. I think the ID.7 is a very good car as well, but those two sit very much at the top of the ID tree, I think.
Yeah. When I took it to central London last week, and I might as well have been in a Rolls Royce, the amount of looks I was getting. It just fab.
I assume people thought you'd stolen it.
Yeah, probably. They had a look and thought, "There's a little man driving it. How can you afford that?"
Yeah, and you've got that sort of look about you, haven't you? That sort of criminal look. So,
thank you. Last episode, I said I was going to be driving a Taycan. But as it happened, they didn't have a Taycan, so they had to put me in a Macan, which was okay. No, the Macan is incredible. So I went down to Reading.
You,
Go on.
Oh yeah, I was just treading all over what you're saying, but I was going to ask, did you go to Reading to get it?
Yeah, so I had it for one day. So I got to Reading
Mm-hmm.
fairly early and left fairly late. And I managed to film that in one day, which is not something I usually do. But that was that was my first. I've never driven a Porsche before that.
Oh, okay.
And my word, just it's another level of car, isn't it? It's just insane. I just blown away. So my review for that is out right now, actually. So
It's weird with Porsche, isn't it? Because you get into them and there's something familiar about everything, and it's because obviously they're using a lot of VW Audi Group bits and bobs, but it's just implemented in a different way. So it feels mega premium, but somehow still familiar.
I didn't really notice anything borrowed from the VW Group in there. It all looked pretty custom to me.
Yeah, but I suppose it's the newest one, isn't it?
I suppose it is. Yeah.
And I mean, because I've been in a 911 before and stuff, and you think, oh yeah, that's out of an A4 and that's out of an A6, and and the infotainment, like you can, when you're really used to the infotainment, you can see how it's just got a different face on it. But maybe that new Macan has actually got some ground up new touches.
So I did an infotainment guide as well for that. I think it was about half an hour. It just all seems very impressive. That whole car, it just feels like a well used glove. You get, I don't know. It's everything in the interior is where it should be. There's no stupid design choices gone inside. You expect where everything should be. You expect it to be, and all the right amount of physical controls. I mean, something like in the center console, you've got that big haptic button thing now. For all the heating controls, there's a real mix of actual buttons and haptic buttons. It all is just very, very well thought out. So yeah,
there's a lot to be said for that.
There is. I've got a few more bits. I'm actually going to be reviewing a dishwasher on my tech channel, so I thought that was quite interesting. So
that's interesting. You know that you're opening yourself up to the EV haters with that one.
Oh yeah, I know. That's true.
You've already reviewed lots of dishwashers.
Yeah, I know. So I've got a separate channel for tech stuff, which I haven't really put anything on there for about a year. But in our kitchen is very small, so I managed to find a very good tabletop dishwasher, so I thought I'd review it. So we'll see how that goes.
Cool.
So yeah, and then one or two little bits. I went up to this was ages ago now. I went up to Stockport to go meet James Gee from BE.ev, and he was very, very kind to give up his Sunday, and I filmed a little video on how a typical for them EV site is built. So they use Chempower, they use Octopus Energy for their source, because I think they're owned by Octopus Energy in some form. And yeah, that video's done pretty well actually. Just a little tour, and a very good explainer on different things, like why some EVs charge slowly, what is the actual process when you plug the car in. He actually showed me the back end of the software and what is going on. So I found that really interesting. Also did a Sainsbury Smart Charge guide, and then very lastly, a few weeks ago, I saw the Inster finally in person, which is really cool.
Oh, what did you think?
Oh, I love that. It's so cool.
It's quite cool how the boot works, isn't it?
It really is. We had a good sit in it. They turned on the software for us. We had a good play with it. But Jim, what have you been up to? I've been up to quite a bit, but what have you been up to?
Oof. So I went out to LA for the LA Auto Show. That was really cool. It was a bit smaller than last year, I would say.
Okay.
But some very cool stuff there. I saw the Robo Taxi, or the Cyber Cab, or whatever other name you want to put onto it. And right at the end, if you got that far into my video, which is like an hour and a half long, in fact, I don't know if it even made the video. It may have just made Instagram. But I found a couple of modified cyber trucks. Oh yeah. There's basically an area in the basement which was going to be open for, I think the LA Auto Show's 10 days. And it's obviously open to the public, where the day I went was the media day, and that whole area, it's called the garage or the garage. They were still setting it up on the media day. So there was very few people around, and anyone that was around was quite busy, but they had like low riders and stuff, and really, really cool kind of LA car scene stuff, lots of classic. But yeah, a couple of modified Cybertrucks, which were quite funny. One done up like a low rider, which was really good fun. And yeah, just lots of crazy stuff. Obviously, huge amounts of ginormous pickup trucks still in America with massive petrol or diesel engines. The 6.7 litre twin turbo power stroker diesel was a particular beast, I would say. But it's such a different market, and I think when you go to one of those American auto shows, you really appreciate just how different it is. Not only do they have, brands that we're familiar with have completely different product lineups, there's still such a huge sort of focus on massive output vehicles. Not always big horsepower, but huge cylinder capacity vehicles, ICE vehicles. But there's more and more and more electric stuff. I don't think the infrastructure's as good. The public infrastructure's as good in LA as I would expect it to be. Obviously, LA is probably the most EV friendly place in the US. And you don't see chargers absolutely everywhere. And you regularly see queues at chargers, which I haven't seen here for years now.
No, yeah.
So that's quite interesting. So, and now obviously Trump is talking about, well, we don't need EVs particularly. We've got all this oil and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know how the market's going to change over there, but it's really quite insightful to go over there and have a look at that and then compare it to what we've got in the UK. And you'll see brands like Ford, who to me have sort of deserted their core audience in the UK and Europe to a degree, where in the US they are absolutely playing to their core audience, but still throwing in some new stuff along the way. And they feel like a much more forward-thinking brand in the US than they do in Europe. And there's quite a lot of that going on. So yeah, very, very insightful, very interesting, and a good show and a good trip, really. Did lots of miles over there. We went over to like Nevada and Arizona. I have got a travel video for my travel channel, which is called Jet Set Jimbo, if you haven't seen that I will get out at some point, but I've got so much work to do at the moment, so many videos to make, and sort of not enough time to make them. I was on the Matthew Wright radio show at the weekend as well, on the breakfast show on Saturday, and basically I was asked to go on and talk about Elon Musk. Okay. And the question was, apparently lots of Tesla owners are now absolutely embarrassed to have a Tesla, and they're putting stickers on, sort of anti-Musk stickers on their cars and stuff. And, will it have an impact on Tesla sales? And my response to that was that most people with any sort of degree of sense can separate a company from its CEO. People have said to me before things about Musk, and it's always like, oh, but why do you want one of Elon's cars? And I would say, well, would you go up the pub with Jeff Bezos? Or maybe not. I'm guessing he's probably not that cool a guy. I could be completely wrong, of course. And I think if I made the point where if I were a Tesla shareholder, I'd be pretty fed up that Elon's decided to become a politician, whether I agree with him or not, simply because the share price is going to be affected by what he says as a politician kind of thing. But it was very brief, quite a strange experience. Oh, yeah. He did say, by the way, Matthew Wright, that he's listened to the podcast. Well, at the time, as I was in the call, I sort of came away from it with the impression that he said our podcast was the best one he'd ever heard. And then I listened to it back, and I think he said, like, I've listened to that before. So, things are sometimes different.
Yes.
After the event, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
No,
first time I've done anything like that, so quite odd, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
No, that's good. I also noticed the other day you got a shout out in one of Dave's. I don't know his last name. I think there's a guy called Dave Takes It On.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He sent me a message actually and asked if it was okay to use a bit of my video, which was
okay.
nice of him because other people use bits of my video and don't
Yes.
ask or credit me. So, thanks, Dave.
Yeah, because I was watching one of his videos and I noticed you were in there. So, yeah, the LA Auto Show. I watched the Ford stand was the most memorable for me from that video because they got the Ford Maverick, the Ford Bronco. You are right; they've got more interesting vehicles over there. I would say,
Yeah,
and more iconic vehicles like the F-150 Lightning. They need to do something.
Yeah, for the European market because I can't believe they haven't bought the Bronco here actually because I think it would do well over here.
It would.
But we need small cars.
Yes, we do.
Like we need an electric Fiesta.
Yeah,
it needs to happen.
Yeah.
But according to Jim Farley's recent comments, it seems like that's unlikely to happen, which is odd. I think, like very odd. Actually, as I've been slagging off Ford and their efforts in the UK, they've literally, as we're recording this, just announced the Puma EV, which is amazing timing. So,
it really is.
New electric version of the Puma SUV, 43 kilowatt hour battery and up to 244 miles of range, arriving next year, expected to cost over 30 grand. Someone else is saying it's going to be 29,995. What that tells me is that nobody knows what the price is going to be. 166 brake horsepower motor driving the front wheels, and the battery is smaller than you'll find on the Kona Electric or the EV3, but its range falls between those two rivals. So, all right. Well, yeah, I've been saying for a long time that Ford are just putting out the same thing time after time after time. Well, here is something different, a small compact SUV, more of a crossover, I think, than an SUV, the Puma. I don't know what you think. But, yeah, that could do well.
I like the launch colour as well. The really, really nice yellow finish on it. And they've sort of blanked in the grille. Again, sorry for the lack of massively good information on this one because it's only just been announced. I think at the moment they're only doing one battery pack. I don't know if they're going to launch a larger version at any point. But to be honest, for the size vehicle it is the same sort of wheelbase as a Fiesta, kind of.
It's quite good looking.
It is good looking actually. They haven't changed the design loads from the petrol version. It looks good.
Very weirdly, I mean, they're trying to show you how large the boot space is, and it's got a big underfloor storage, much like you get in like a Tesla, for example, like the Model Y. And they're obviously trying to show that off a bit, but they've done it in quite a weird way. One seems to be they've filled it with maybe action figures or Quality Street. I'm not sure which it is because the picture's a bit zoomed out. And the other one has got a full electric drum kit in the back of it, which I think has to be the most bizarre manufacturer media shot that I've ever seen.
That is bizarre, isn't it? It's like an orange drum kit.
Yeah, that's really weird.
It is. It's interesting though how they've managed to keep the underfloor storage, because I think the petrol Puma has that weird drain plug. I don't know if they've kept that. But the packaging is obviously. I don't know if I really don't know if this is a complete bespoke platform or is it just a converted Puma platform, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably converted because nothing I'm reading so far says the all new and you know, when that happens, there's usually a hell of a lot of guffaw about the fact that it's all new. And I'm not seeing that anywhere. In fact, on the car buyer site, they're saying here, it's gone fully electric, swapping its mild hybrid petrol engine. Now, it could just be a turn of phrase, or it could be more than that. But yeah, interesting. Anyway, pretty good timing that came out as we were recording the podcast.
Yeah, one other good thing, they've kept the power moderate, so 166 horsepower, which is going to keep insurance at bay. Hopefully, it's not wildly powerful, because EVs don't need to be powerful. I think some manufacturers are forgetting that.
Yeah.
Just keep the power moderate, and it will be a bit safer for some people as well. But yeah, I think that's really good. We might discuss that a bit more in depth next episode. But yeah,
Yeah, the power thing as well, especially in smaller cars. I mean, you get an incredible feeling of speed in a slow small EV. I mean, I think 0 to 60 is like 12 seconds or something. 0 to 30 feels really, really quick.
yep.
And obviously that's where you're doing 0 to 30 a lot more than you're doing 0 to 60 in that car.
I haven't written it down yet, but did you want to? We're probably like the most, I don't know, 55th, well, no, like the 1000th podcast to talk about Jaguar at the moment. Last night in Miami, they announced the Type 00. We recorded this on Tuesday, the 3rd of December, and like 1 or 2 a.m. last night they announced it. Do you want to talk about the new Jaguar, or is it been beaten to death already?
Yeah, well, I think we should. Everyone else is talking about it, so why shouldn't we?
I think yesterday lunchtime there's some leaks that got put all on the automotive press of what the car would look like. And then last night, they had an announcement video, and I think other automotive YouTubers there. So Ginny Buckley got to see it ahead of time, and other people did as well. I think the people that have seen it in person, they seem quite impressed with what they've done in terms of the actual concept car itself. But I know you released a video a few days ago, sort of giving your thoughts on what had happened in terms of the brand stuff.
Yeah, I took it down in the end because my biggest concern with all the branding stuff is that hundreds or thousands of people at Jaguar are going to lose their jobs. And I thought, I don't regret a thing I said in that video, but I sort of think I don't want to be any part of making that happen.
Yes.
And I don't think I would. I don't think I have any degree of influence over decisions that Jaguar make or that the public make. But I thought I'd rather not say anything,
of course,
than have that out there. So I just took it down.
Fair enough.
But I think anyone with any sense at the moment, if they had a struggling brand, and a brand that's known for producing extremely unreliable vehicles, you would think they would go to making a marketing message that says that things have changed and they're now going to be the best. They're going to do it this way. They're going to do this. They're going to do that, and possibly come to market with something that possibly a Tesla Model 3 rival, something that's attainable for as many people as possible. And instead, they've come out with, this concept car, I just don't see the point of the concept car. That's never going to be a production vehicle.
No.
It's going to have the turning circle of the Titanic. And I don't get it really. I sort of feel like I'd be surprised if a new Jaguar appears at this stage. Right. Certainly under the current ownership, but let's wait and see.
Yeah, I think I watched one video from Top Gear last night before I shut my eyes. But yeah, I can't remember his name who had a look at it, but he seemed pretty impressed with what the design looks like. It's more of a direction more of a view in what direction they're going in, I think. But yeah, there's been a lot of fuss about it in the last few weeks. But yeah, I think we should always see what is going to come next, really, from the company. But yeah, the biggest thing would be that people in this country would lose their jobs. That's obviously not a good thing, but I'm hopeful. I don't think that will happen, but we shall see.
Yeah, they might sell 12 of those cars when they eventually come out at 130 grand a piece.
Well, the thing is, people have compared it to the Rolls-Royce Spectre. I do wonder how many of those they're going to sell, because they're the price of a house.
That's the difference, though. They're the price of a house, and they're coach built.
Yeah,
and they don't have huge production costs. So there's so much margin in a Rolls-Royce, and even with Bentley, and they're usually repurposing parts from BMW.
That's true,
and other places. Um, so yeah, it's I don't know.
Fair enough.
I'll say no more.
Of course,
but...
yeah. Yeah, there are other podcasts which have probably done. I think other podcasts did like an emergency episode, which is just ridiculous. When all the branding stuff got announced, but yeah.
Yeah, and there's other people that are out there saying like, if you're against it, you're some sort of bigot and stuff, and I just don't understand where that's coming from at all.
No idea.
I just think it needs something. The whole like copy nothing or whatever it is. I don't know. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. Of course. I've got one more bit of conversation before we get into the main news. This was around the 17th of November. It says, despite pressure to do so, the UK EV targets will not be weakened. And this comes from actually, she's left her position since I wrote this article. Louise Hay, the former Secretary for State of Transport, she mentioned last month that the ZEV mandate is going to be ongoing and increasing every year, and they're not going to back down on their stuff. This might have changed since I wrote the article. I'd imagine it will probably stay the same because she's already been replaced as we're recording this now. But yeah, I think, have you done any content on this conversation or bits and pieces?
Yeah, so I covered it in the news video on Sunday. Yeah, basically she was done several years ago for fiddling her expenses.
Oh, okay.
And she's been fired as a result, or certainly has been removed from her position.
Right.
Which seemed like a bit of a storm in the teacup, to be fair, but there we go. And it could just be, there could be other forces at play. We know that the political world is a fairly filthy one. But it does seem like they are definitely considering changing the ZEV mandate.
Right.
And if you look, I did a video last night actually about the various manufacturers' performance against the ZEV mandate, and several are well on track, and in fact will be fine next year as well if things continue at the current rate. But there are also lots at the other end of the spectrum, and lots that actually have done really well, but they sell so many vehicles, the fines are going to be just absolutely through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions in fines for companies that have made a huge effort, like Kia and Hyundai, for example, potentially facing some really heavy fines. So it's a difficult one. And I mean, there are some manufacturers there that have ignored it or have just been lazy with what they've put out in the market. And then you've got others that have been actually really progressive and forward thinking and, done everything they possibly can, and they're still going to struggle with it. So it's an odd one for me. I feel like the solution to all this is really making home charging an option for everyone. And some kind of something centrally just to get rid of all the anti-EV nonsense, because there's been nothing really coming centrally, certainly nothing official, and people are just routinely allowed to print lies or lies at the strongest end of things, but at least putting a massive magnifying glass on the tiniest thing to make it a lot bigger than it is, which is not helpful or healthy. I also think, and a lot of people will argue the toss with me on this, and often do, but I think if the ZEV mandate didn't exist and people were given incentives for moving into EV and possibly even taxed for staying with ICE, I think we'd have more people in EVs right now, because a huge part of the backlash is from basically conspiracy theorists who are saying like we're all being pushed into this, our freedom's been taken away, our choice has been taken away. And I think without that argument, it might be very different. Lots of people come at me and say, well, you've fallen for the climate scam and all this kind of stuff. That's another big argument. And I always say to people, the climate thing is a massively positive like secondary factor for me. I got into an EV for financial reasons.
Yeah.
And you're constantly being told EVs are too expensive. And I think I just go back and say, well, lease a new one or buy a used one. Like, price parity happened a long time ago, and we're now the other way around.
Yeah.
So there's just so much nonsense, and I think there are so many people now that don't want an EV for all the wrong reasons.
I know.
Reasons that are not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I personally think if we didn't have the mandate, but manufacturers were given maybe subsidies for producing more EVs or something to push them down that line anyway, and more people had access to home charging, tenants, people in terrace properties without drives, all that kind of stuff, I think we'd be looking at a very, very different picture. Just look at what's happened in Norway.
I know.
Who sold something like 93 or 96% EV this month.
Yeah, it's crazy numbers. Yeah, they're doing really well over there, and it's
and the only difference is they've had a government that have said, we want this to happen, and here's how we're going to do it. And what we've had is, we want this to happen, and we'll beat you with a stick whether you do it or not.
Yeah, I've given up in sort of the trying to reason with why people say certain things. But yeah.
I'm completely apolitical, by the way, so anyone that's listening to this thinking I'm a red or a blue or whatever, I'm not. I'm probably a centralist, and I think political arguments live or die on their own merits, not by who said them.
Yeah. There's lots of interesting things happening at the moment. There needs to be some things that have to be changed in order for it all to work properly. One example is the state of the public charging prices at the moment, which is just yeah.
See, one of the other things that I learned this week actually is how much the actual EV sales figures are being boosted by Motability and by manufacturers pushing demonstrators into the market.
Right.
So they're, the pre-reg cars and things. Actual private sales of EVs are down something like 68%. And it's the other factors that are pushing it up. So some manufacturers are doing what they can to obviously boost those figures. But yeah, when you look at the actual private numbers, they're not so good, and it does need some action. Because simply finding people all it will do is end up with people withdrawing from markets and prices go up, and then nobody has an EV.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to move on to some news now. So I don't know if you were aware, but Vinfast, the Vietnamese car company, they were going to launch in the UK this year. And I wrote a piece on my website a while back saying that, they're going to launch in the UK. But I did some digging because I just thought, where are they? Because they were going to launch by the end of 2024. The former MD of Vinfast UK, Andrew Pilkington, used to be the MD of Genesis. He has now left Vinfast after about 3 or 4 months this year. And he said, due to the postponed introduction of Vinfast in the UK, the business has been suspended until a future date. Hopefully, it will not be too long before we see Vinfast cars on the road in the UK. And he put that on his LinkedIn profile. I haven't got any official wording from Vinfast because I don't know who to contact. But that's interesting, the fact that they just pulled back on launching this country. When the cars launched in the US, they didn't have the most glowing reviews when they came out. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, funnily enough, at the LA Auto Show last year, Vinfast had quite a large stand, and this year they had like a single vehicle in the lobby and then another one in another lobby.
Oh, okay.
And no staff or anything on hand.
Right.
And I sort of looked at that, and I said to my friend Dennis that I went with, I said to him, I said, well, I wonder if they're struggling because they had a real presence last year, and it's odd that they've stepped it down to such a degree.
Yeah, I just think the market's getting very competitive at the moment. You got all the Chinese brands that are entering the country, like Omoda and JQ. And I noticed in your video from yesterday that Omoda actually sold quite a few cars already in this country, which is surprising.
Yeah.
And they might just be looking at the market from afar and just deciding whether or not it's even worth putting the money up front to do it. So
I'm guessing those Omoda sales are probably Motability, but I don't know.
Quite possibly. So yeah. Did you see this Genesis GV70 at the LA Auto Show the other day? Or
Yeah.
not? You did? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this one is a facelift that was a little bit overdue in terms of the interior styling of the GV70. This one now has the larger battery pack from the other models that the group has been making. So we've gone from 77.4 to 84. It's now in the US specifically got the NACS port, or the North American charging standard. And that means they can use all the Tesla chargers and stuff. But yeah, the interior has been updated with their new design language. You've got the new big screen from the GV60 and stuff. But I think that's a really good option, and I'm hoping it will come to the UK in 2025. So yeah.
Yeah, that big screen looks amazing in it. And
It really does.
The seats, I mean, they were already glorious in the GV70. But the new one, oh my word.
I know.
There's some lovely leather work there that gets an old man very excited.
I guess me excited as well. So. Dacia Spring, Jim's favourite car. Dacia launched the Spring Cargo earlier in November, and this is now the UK's cheapest electric van. It isn't really a van because it's just a hollowed out car, but in eyes of the government, it is an electric van, and it means it's £13,145, and it benefits from the £2,500 plug-in van grant, which is still a thing. So yeah, might be quite useful for city stuff, but I'm not sure. It will have to be. I'm not sure how companies buy vans, but they probably lease them nowadays. So
yeah, I'd probably just get a say at me and take the back seat out.
Yeah, possibly.
Or put it down.
That will charge quicker than this.
Yeah.
Cool. Have you had a chance to see an XPeng in person at all?
Yeah, I saw them at Paris. They had a few there.
Okay.
So I think the G6 is the one we're going to get, isn't it? Is it G6?
I wrote the article, and I should know this. Yes, the XPeng G6 will come to the UK in 2025, and that looks really cool. I really like that.
See, I'm not in love with it.
Okay.
I actually much prefer. Do you remember they did one that was sort of a Model 3 look-alike?
I believe so.
It sort of looked a cross between the Model 3 and the Seal, and I thought it was really good looking, and I was hoping they'd bring that one here, where the G6, I don't know, it's all right, but it doesn't blow me away. It's not the most original of designs, as probably used to if you've seen some XPeng stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
But it does look, on paper at least, fairly compelling proposition. LFP battery, or well, you've got the two choices, haven't you? Is it what is it? The LFP.
You got 66 kilowatt hour on the LFP. I couldn't find the range information for the two batteries. It just said it can do up to 342 miles. I think specs are coming soon, so that's probably
so 342 will be on the big battery then. Yeah.
They were a bit coy with some of the specs, but 280 kilowatt DC charging speed is pretty good as well.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, and interestingly, this is being brought to the UK by International Motors.
Yeah,
and they also bring the Ora to the UK,
mm-hmm.
And Subaru and Isuzu. So, it's as we've said before on this podcast, it's always interesting to see new brands launched to the UK, because why wouldn't you want to test new cars?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that. Although I'm not in love with the design of that, that's one of the cars I most want to drive at the moment because it's new.
Yeah, exactly. It's always good fun. In Norway, it currently costs 387,000 kroner, which works out to be £27,000, which it won't be that cheap in this country when it's bought here.
No, I mean, if it was, they wouldn't be able to sell enough of them, would they?
No.
By the way, something that we haven't got listed here, but I will just mention,
Go on.
is the MG5 is about to go away.
Oh, really?
And it's not going to be replaced. And there are only about 300 left.
Oh.
From what I understand. Now, I'm recording at the moment a video on new car deals.
Okay.
And these are not lease deals; these are sort of purchase deals.
Okay.
And you can get an MG5 Trophy at the moment for 20 grand.
Wow.
Which has got £13,500 off the RRP. It's a really good car, the MG5. So if you're after an electric estate car, I would jump on it. They may be gone by the time my video comes out. So I thought worth a mention here.
That's crazy. Oh yeah, I've just seen one on Auto Trader. £22,000 says £11,000 off list price. Interesting.
Yeah. But there's one on there for 19,999.
Mental.
A trophy.
Yeah, it's a decent car to be fair, and I know Cleveland. They swear by them. They use them they use them as vans basically for their engineers and stuff. So they're pretty robust, and there's a lot of taxis around my way that use them as well, which is surprising because I live in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, that's a good little piece of news there. This might upset a few people, but Abarth have, unlike other Stellantis brands, Abarth have doubled down on doing an all electric future. Other brands I've noticed, like when the Jeep Avenger came out, I'm going to call it, they gave in a little bit and made a hybrid version. The same thing happened with the Fiat 500e as well. They're going to have a hybrid version. I see that as giving in a little bit, but Abarth aren't giving in. They have the boss said something really interesting. He said, "I'm going to mess up his name. Gaetano Thorial has said that there will not be any more combustion models in the future of Abarth, saying that the cost of making them is too high for the car company itself and the consumer." I quote, he said, "If you make a combustion sports hatch that emits 180 grams per kilometre and you're in Italy, you have to pay between €1,000 and €2,000 road tax every year. Is it fair when I can give customers an electric sport hatch that behaves in the same way, has the same level of enjoyment and equivalent performance, all at the same price?" So I think that was pretty of a punchy quote there from a boss of a sports car company, basically. So yeah.
I'm surprised that Abarth have done this and Renault haven't, because when you look at Renault at the moment, they are just all about EV. Like everything new and exciting that's coming out of Renault is EV, really.
Yep.
But I don't think they've, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Renault have come out and said, we're EV only now.
Don't think so. No,
but where Abarth, I don't know, it sits, especially against Fiat. Like of the two, you think maybe Fiat could go all EV, where Abarth, they don't sell so many cars, but they've got a bit of a die-hard following. But it's great, like it's punchy, and I totally understand the point, because more and more people here now, I think, are saying, well, I'm not going to buy one of those because it's going to cost me 700 quid a year to tax it, and then I've got the luxury car tax on top of that, and blah blah blah. And I think also, if you're a manufacturer now, there are so many sort of off-the-shelf EV platforms available that you could then sort of build from you take that as your platform, and then you're essentially sticking the car on top. So, like R&D wise, I feel like possibly with EV now, you don't have the same kind of expense as you would have had previously.
Well, no, look at what Stellantis have been doing. So,
yeah,
a lot of their cars are just cookie cutter copies of each one. And I haven't driven any of them. I've only driven the Fiat 500e actually, but they should all feel ever so slightly different. I'd imagine they could probably do some work in that regard. I know the Alfa Romeo Junior apparently feels quite nice on a track, whereas it wouldn't in a Fiat 600e, for example. So they've probably done some sort of work there.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really good. Good on them for doing that. the last bit of news we've got is, you probably again saw this in the LA Auto Show, is the Kia EV9 GT. This came out of nowhere, I think. I didn't even realise they were going to be doing one. But this is a 500 horsepower version of the massive 7-seater EV9. I'm not sure how much sense it makes to have that much power in a massive 7-seater, but the interior looks really good. I really like the green effect, all the LEDs. Looks like sort of an alien environment, but looks quite cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool, but like you, I don't see the point really. I mean, it's not a slow car anyway, but these things do appeal to people, though. I mean, like the BMW X7M. I mean, why does that exist? But they still sell them, so I'm sure they're serving a customer base that's there. But yeah, I'd get the standard one probably. Although it does look really cool.
It does look cool. And I tested the EV9 a few months ago, and it was doing pretty okay efficiency for its size. I'd imagine that this one's just going to throw that efficiency out the water a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure. I saw that the new EV6 is going to get the sort of faux gears from the Ioniq 9 as well, with the EV6 GT. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which will be nice. I look forward to trying that one out. The EV6 has always felt heavier to me than the Ioniq 5, despite the fact they're on the same platform.
Interesting.
It feels a bit longer and heavier.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be really interested to get behind the wheel of that one. I'm sure it won't disappoint.
Sorry, I forgot to write this down. But the Ioniq 9 as well. Did you see that at the auto show?
Yeah, I saw that, and they also had the Initium, which is the hydrogen fuel cell from Hyundai. Oh. I actually much prefer the design of the Initium, but I don't think hydrogen's ever going to really catch on for passenger cars. But the design of the Initium was really cool. The Ioniq 9, I didn't fall in love with that design.
Okay.
It's obviously got sort of a strong tip of the hat to the EV9 and the Santa Fe, but not sure about it. The interior was nice.
I think I prefer the design of the EV9. I saw an EV9 on the road the other day, and it just reminded me how good that thing looks.
I think they're gorgeous. Yeah. I love the look of the EV9. I really do.
Yeah, it's great.
It is silly, but I love it.
Yeah, it's very good.
So what are you up to next month or this month? Even we're in December, folks.
We are in December. We're a little bit late this time because we've both been busy, so a little bit late this time. But I've got a Merc eVito arriving on Friday.
Okay.
Friday. Panel van that I was supposed to have that last month, but I had my surgery last month, so I had to delay that. And then I got a Ford E-Transit Custom.
Nice.
For 3 days. So I'm picking that up Wednesday. So gonna try and review that quite quickly and get done with that one, because I think electric vans are quite interesting to test at the moment. They're a little bit different, a little bit out there, and there's not that many reviews out there of electric vans, not enough of them. And I would imagine that small business owners are looking to see what they're trying to get. So I think that's quite good to do. So.
Yeah, it's probably a really good idea, actually. Yeah. Specialising a little bit never hurts, does it?
Yeah. What are you going to be driving, or are you just knee deep in videos?
I've got the new Audi A3 this week. But it's just bog standard petrol car.
Nice.
So yeah, I've literally picked it up yesterday, dropped the driver at the station, and I haven't driven it since. So I need to probably go out and spend some time with that, which won't be today. But yeah, I'll be spending a bit of time with that probably tomorrow and Thursday, and then I'll try and get the review done possibly Friday.
Nice.
And I actually deliberately haven't booked anything else in for the rest of the month, just because I'm so unbelievably busy, and Christmas is upon us.
Sure.
But before we know it, so. Yeah, that's hopefully quite a quiet month for me, because the last few weeks have been insanity.
Yeah, feels like I've I've had quite a few busy few weeks as well. Oh, I didn't even mention at the very start of the episode, I drove the Skywell. I completely forgot.
Oh, okay.
Skywell BE11. I met also Matt Robinson from Complete Car as well. We went out together in the car and had quite a funny time.
Oh, okay, cool.
That was at the British Motor Museum, which was quite good.
Yeah, someone asked me if I'd been invited to that. I can't remember who it was.
I think I saw that interaction, but I can't remember who it was either. But
I wasn't. It was Rob. He's got the RS Thinks channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think I know who that is. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
It was okay. I actually got told off for flying my drone by this angry man. This angry man who was actually shorter than me, which is hard to find. But I was.
How could you see him?
I was in the car. You've been to the British Motor Museum before. The car park's massive, so I was flying.
Is this the Haynes one?
It's the one at Gaydon.
Oh yeah.
No,
I haven't been to that one.
So I was flying the drone about 11, 12 feet in the air, and I knew there were some people watching me. I did all my filming because I just want some nice panning shots and stuff of the car.
Yeah.
He just came up to me and said, "You do know you're not allowed to be filming here. Like, there's a Jaguar secure site over there." So I just ignored him and carried on doing what I was doing. And he threatened to get Jaguar security after me, but was he
just a member of the public?
Just a security guard apparently.
Oh, okay.
But I just ignored him and carried on filming. So
yeah, fair play.
It's not a no-fly zone there. You've got to be careful with drones sometimes. But if you've used,
aren't they like geofence though, so you.
Yeah. The DJI ones are really clever. They'll restrict their height in certain areas. Because I flew it at the NEC once to get some footage of the BP chargers, and it wouldn't let me go above the canopy height because it was so near the airport. You can still fly it, but yeah, they're very clever. They've got to be very careful. I think it's up to DJI to be very careful as well. Yeah,
when me and Tom did that European trip, we stopped in Eindhoven, and he set the drone up and dropped it into PSV Eindhoven football stadium, and it got to a level where it flashed up and said, hit its limit kind of thing, and it was geofenced, and we had to come back out again.
Crap.
And he was having a bit of a moment actually, in case it suddenly just decided to drop out of the sky. But I was quite impressed by that because it was the first time I'd actually seen a drone in action. But those DJI ones are very, very good, aren't they?
They are. I bought mine ages ago before I even did YouTube stuff, just during lockdown because I was a bit bored. And as it happens, it's quite useful for YouTube. So
yeah. There's a really cheap one now as well, I think, which you don't have too much control over, but it sort of just does its own thing.
Yeah, I think it's the size of your hand. I'm not sure though. Obviously not your hands, but
no, not my hands.
No, I think that little one's designed for like beach photos and stuff, like just simple stuff. I think, like just to fly in the air and just get a picture of someone, or picture
purely for paedophiles, is it?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. So when you get it, Alex,
it's arrived. I think that's a good place to end.
I think so.
Thanks,
only right.
Yeah, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Charging Status podcast. You can find us in video on YouTube and in audio wherever you get your podcasts. For a full description of this show, visit the episode link in the show notes. You can find links to our websites, theinterface.uk and notaguru.co.uk in the show notes. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you again next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.